What I liked about the script was that it was it was a very easy read. It was very enjoyable. I thought, wow, this is gonna be entertaining. And by the way, and I don't mean to make light of this because it sounds like I'm being, but I love the title. I couldn't get enough of the title. Yeah. Days after I read it, I kept thinking, Crazies. I don't know, sounds cool. Sounds like something I want to see. The Crazies. First of all, the makeup is scary, crazy scary good. It's crazy how good they are, these makeup guys, and how much that helps my job. Joe I've worked with before. He's fantastic. He's just fantastic. I love him. Can't get enough of him. He's fully committed, and he's just really fun to work back. We did a movie before, so we kind of had a nice second hand before we got here, and that was great. And Danielle just seems lovely. Just an absolute sweetheart. And you know, this kind of a movie to get that kind of a cast and such good actors. It's, you know, we're lucky. That's been good. When I got the script, it was entertaining from the first few minutes. I was just like, ooh, this is fun, and it stayed with me for days. That and the title, between the combination of the two, there was just something that felt like it reminded me of like a good pop song. There was just something about it that was it wasn't pretending to be anything highfalutin or great, but it was just fun, and it's kind of resonated in a way, and it was just kept coming back to it. We just had this great back and forth, phone calls, conversations. I'd meet him in his office, and we'd go over, and we talked about this endlessly. And I think I'm really quite proud that it felt like a day or two before shooting, I remember he and I thinking, we have a really great script. We were so excited. We were like, look at that. And I remember after the first day, he was so lovely. After our first day of shooting, he called me and left me the nicest message about the day and enjoying working with me and all that. And I remember telling him, it's like, well, no, this is the fun part now. It's like we felt like we went through this great journey of and now it's just kind of bringing it to life. These great characters and kind of that's what it feels like we have. It feels like we have these really great characters that feel very real, and I'm hoping that it elevates that, you know, what I think is you often see in the genre, you know, with some exception, obviously, you know. So that feels really great, and you know, I think with that we got these great characters with these great relationships.
I really like the idea of a couple sort of going through this thing together, and the fact that they were pregnant and just sort of codependent in that way, and just the stress that places on a relationship and how they kind of escape together. I like the togetherness of it. And I guess I also like the sort of the social message that's also buried in there as well. I play a woman called Judy Dutton, who is the wife of the sheriff and also the town's local doctor. So she has a sort of intimate relationship with a lot of the people in the population because, you know, she's delivered their babies, she's seen them in all different kinds of states, so she knows them intimately, and is obviously very shocked and mortified to see the loved people of her town turn into what they turn into. So that's who she is, and she's sort of in love with her husband, and you know, they struggle to get through this experience together. I think it's a really wonderful bunch of people, and Timothy is such good energy. He's always keeping everybody laughing on set, and he's just a really, he's like a really great guy and a wonderful leader for this group. And Joe also is very, very intense, and he's a fantastic actor. And Danielle is just very charming and beautiful and wonderful to have around. I think Breck is the right guy for this project because he understands the demographic. Like, he's the right age. He kind of knows, he knows what people want and what they need, and he can express it in a kind of really fun, hip way. And working with him has been great because he's sort of he's younger and he's kind of cool, and he's just lovely. And I think everybody on set really responds to what's fun about him.
The fact that this movie has a little more character to it than a lot of horror movies, and it's the idea of something that is intrinsically safe becoming unsafe. It's even more scary if something like this were to happen, because it's people you know, as opposed to someone you don't know, and a mindless slashing killer. Which is also something that I think they wanted to get away from, the idea that the crazies still retain some human elements. He's a young kid who really, the story and the journey is a rites of passage for him. He becomes a man essentially by the end of it, and mans up to some of the responsibility, which is he'll die to save his buddies, really. And so his arc in the movies is probably one of the biggest. And plus the fact we toy a little bit with whether he's infected or not, which makes it interesting as an actor to play with. It's being brought up to date. The budget that they had for the original was small. There's only so much you can do. But in terms of subject matter and how it's approached, it's somewhat similar, but we're really kicking it into the 21st century, so to speak. But saying that the being still set in a small town and having somewhat of a sparse nature to it, there are elements that definitely feel similar. Tim, I've worked with Tim before. I absolutely adore him. I think he's such a sweet guy and an absolute professional. He's one of those actors that can work absolutely technically and instinctually and have fun, be able to let it go. So working with Tim's an absolute dream. Rada I have never worked with before, but she's bang on the money. There is a nice sense of team. When it's a small group of you and there's four of us, we tend to sort of help each other out a lot, and there's a definite sense of camaraderie there. And Danielle is just awesome.
What I love about the script is that it really goes to people's darkest places, that part of the disease of going crazy is that your fears and whatever your deepest resentments are come out, and that's how, how you start killing people, which is scary. So I think there's something about that leaves people thinking, at least I did after I read the script, like, what would be my darkest place? Like, it's just something fun and really dark and exciting. I actually really love shooting on location because it gives me the opportunity to totally focus on the film and not get distracted by other things, which is great. So we were in Georgia for a few weeks, which was really nice. It was good to be in the South. Everyone's very sweet, and you eat lots of peach cobbler, and they take great care of you. And here in the Midwest, everyone's so friendly and helpful. I mean, I got my car stuck in the mud, and I could have easily just walked over to the nearest farm, and I know someone could have helped me. And that's a really great feeling. Absolutely. When these people are on set, they're just walking around hanging out, but to see them, the perception is so crazy because everything's so scary, and these people truly look sick. It looks like there's something wrong with them, and that just speaks to the incredible talents of Rob and his team. And it's crazy to see the transformation between when someone walks into the makeup trailer and when someone walks out of it. It's really impressive. I think it's a great combination of people. I think Tim is a really strong lead. He's an incredible actor he's very thoughtful, and the way he brings the film together, I think he's an invaluable asset. And Rada is just the best. She's so quirky and wonderful and fun. It's really great to have her on set, and so talented. We've seen her go to some really dark places too. And Joe is so full of energy, and he really brings a great forward motion to the film. He's wonderful. It's a great chemistry between everyone. We have a lot of fun on set, but I also think we do really great work.
We started conceptualizing with what Breck liked and what he didn't like. We literally started with, here's a bunch of research, here's a lot of the real diseases. In the script, it definitely references rabies in terms of the similarities and some of the diseases and how they affect the body. Rabies was in there, but then we didn't want to go too rabies-y because that was a lot of the stuff that we did in quarantine. So there was an interesting idea that the writers had in there about sort of a tetanus sort of look, and this sort of, you know, the body's arcing off the ground, and the really tautness of the neck and the muscles and things, and so we thought it would be kind of a neat running theme if we had their necks always be taut and always have the tendons, you know, coming up into the face and becoming these blood blisters and becoming all, you know, the idea was basically to take it from the opposite of death and to make it too much life, because if they're infected with Trixie and they're infected with this virus and it's surging through their veins and it's popping here and there, it's going to want to come out. It wants to come out the eyes, it wants to come out the ears, it wants to, you know, create these pockets, and that's essentially was the main theme, is that it was trying to sort of come out of the skin. And in that, I think we created something pretty unique, and the basis for it was a lot of real diseases. Because of the nature of the movie and because of how the infection spreads so fast, you're talking about a disease that actually starts and then within 48 hours someone's dead. So the stages, there's a very rapid succession. And so with that, what we wanted to do was make sure that the makeup, all the appliances that we put on were very mobile, and we could, for lack of a better word, mix and match them. So we created a lot of custom pieces for the people, all the infected crazies, but we also kept everything very fluid. So we would have, like, you know, hundreds and hundreds of tiny little pieces that we make out of this it's basically transferred on with tattoo paper. It's adhesive. So it's these little sculpted adhesive pieces, and what was helpful about that was, you know, Brett could look at a makeup and say, oh, you know, we're a little bit further along than we were last time, can we add another cool vein here? And then within 5 minutes you can add it. You just put it on a little water, pull it off, a little bit of paint, and you're done. And so by keeping it very fluid like that, allowed myself and the rest of the artists that were out from Almost Human to be able to be very fluid with the makeups and mix and match and add as we go. I like working with actors, and I like helping create this character from the ground up, from nothing, you know, from essentially a bucket of rubber. You're creating a character, and it's a fun thing. So yeah, I love doing that. You literally get in there, and you know, sometimes it's as simple as you know what, you can't turn your head quite so far this way because we're having an issue, and it'll wrinkle weird, you know, but it saves, because even that weird wrinkle at the end of the day could take the viewer out of the movie, and that's a bad thing. So yeah, I feel it's my responsibility to jump in there and open my big mouth. The most important aspect of it was just to come up with something that hasn't been done to death. It was a strange balance because they had to be realistic. You know, if we were to pitch something to Breck about, you know, what about one side of his face should look like this, Breck would immediately want to know where we found that and what disease it was from and how could it be implemented into our version of reality, into Trixie. And you know, it's a smart way to go. You know, you can't just say I want one side of the face to look like this because it'll be cool. We literally had to say, you know, this is where it comes from, and it kind of works with the airborne quality and blah 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 blah. So as long as we had sort of that medical backup to point out where it came from, you know, we had a lot of carte blanche in that respect. But the most important thing was to make sure it felt real, felt like someone could get that, and that you might get it too, which is important. And it also was very important to not make them feel like zombies. And again, I hate to overuse iconography, but it definitely was important that these things be unique to the film. I mean, that was very important to Breck. That was his biggest mandate.
What The Crazies does, which I really enjoy about this movie, is that anyone in town could be infected with this disease and you don't know it. And it could be your wife, it could be your husband, it could be your best friend, it could be your mother, your father, your kid, anybody who happens to have consumed the water at the wrong time can get this disease and slowly becomes mad. And the idea of taking these people who are incredibly close to you, who are your closest, dearest friends and relatives, and suddenly turning them into homicidal maniacs who might go after to try and kill you or might just become crazy in some non-violent way. That's what I really responded to in the movie. The reality is that the core of this movie, the inception of the movie, is one that is based in a reality that can happen. I mean, there are, you know, biologically engineered weapons that exist, obviously, today, that were developed starting in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. One of the things that I loved about this movie is it takes place in the heartland of America, in middle America. It is these vast open spaces, these wheat fields and cornfields that go on for miles and miles, these endless plateaus of nothingness. And it's a really interesting, epic landscape. we spent a good portion of time scouting this movie. A lot of the movie, nothing was built in the movie from scratch. Everything was either found locations, manipulated locations, rebuilt locations, or or locations as they were. So it was really a lot of scouting on this movie, a lot of traveling and finding the right places to shoot, and then to make them into what we needed them to be. We met with Rob Hall and just started R&Ding and figuring out what this design was going to be way early in the process. And we did a bunch of mock-ups, and in the early mock-ups we played with ideas of creating sores and open sores around the mouth and the mucal membranes, the eyes and the nose. And as we did it, it kept looking like zombies. Like every time we did it, we manipulated and changed it, but every time that kind of concept of sores around the mouth, around the eyes, around the nose, that no matter what we did, no matter how far we tried to push it from zombies, it always looked like a zombie. So then we threw that all away and started again from scratch and decided, well, what if we don't have any open sores, no blood at all, we just play it all under the skin, and that's what we ended up really having success with, was the idea of like the bulging veins and the tight neck muscles. And we had, so what Rob did is he built these neck pieces that we can put on that when he'd take a life cast of people, which means they take a cast of the face and a cast of their neck, and he would have them tighten their necks as much as possible so that when he applied this neck piece onto the crazies in the stage 3 in the latter stage, it looked as if all the muscles are constantly engaged and constantly tight, as if you had tetanus. And that was one of our reference we used, was tetanus. And so then we started from that base, and then he has an entire face application he'd put on that, and then have these veins that he'd put on and then hide them under the skin with makeup, and it was really quite a successful and I think unique looking thing.
All right, guys, here we go. Sound speed. Here we go. Action. Cut.
Officers holding
Say again?
traffic, please, holding traffic.
Yes, please.
Officers holding traffic.
Sound speed.
Marker. See camera outlet. Start here.
Thank you. Ready and action.
Peter. Well, put him back on the. You know what? If he says he's not seeing it, put him right back on the card. Put it right Peter. PK there. I'm here. Peter's here. Okay. So. Head means face, guys. Okay. So you're on Sam. Handhold's coming. I think. Yeah. I think you gotta be on Tim. Yeah. Stay with. I love the idea that you're like, yeah, actually, good idea. Yeah.
Mark! Hey, Mark. There will be gunfire! Guys, set!
Right here.
And action, please!
Hizo tráiler. Visita mi canal.
Russell, get out of the car.
Give me a second, Chief. I'm almost there.
Russell, get out of the car.
Chief, give me a second. I'm almost there.
Roll sound.
Speeding.
Andy, make sure you're not moving. Okay, thank you. Ready and action.
Sorry.
And then cut it from right here.
Bobby will mail these guys. They're still shooting in. Now I know why that's there. This was a drill and only a drill. It's a drill. 26, 24. EJ said you guys go for auto. That was before Bill. About 90 hits. So we're going to say probably 3. We'll put these back for the moment because they're still filming inside. Okay, yeah,
So I guess,
Or I'll just go.
because he pretty much takes me out. I don't.
Okay, I'll start it.
Just kind of tear down the street, okay, like you're escaping. All right? Is everybody going to get that? You hear me? Okay, one thing, like I said, just make sure that we tuck in close to the fence when we do it. And especially over here, we'll be a little bit farther because they're a little bit close to the truck. I want you close to the fence, okay? Is everybody? You guys have
Hey, Mark.
You guys don't need to be down, but do me a favor, face away from the truck while this is happening to practice. Here we go. Here we go. This is for rehearsal. Ready and action.
Move! Carlos! Chris! Fletcher! Jay! Jay!
Okay, guys, very nice. Back to one.
Move! 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 Carlos! Move! Chris! Move! Fletcher! Jay!
Faster, guys, faster. Come on. What are you doing? That's to be on set. Let's go. That's all I do.
Our spot in the background, Rob.
There you go.
I'd always have a
You guys are doing this for wide shots. You need to do worse work.
Just want you to know we're essentially doing nothing right now. We would have been done 5 minutes ago if you weren't filming us. All right.
Ta-da!
Greasy.
How you doing?
Good.
I just got tired of sitting down there lonely. Yeah, I'm down in the water truck. Come on uphill, bro. Hell, I felt like I'm on touch over here today. And then 50 minutes anyway.